fired by the CEO's son, betrayed by the executive team. I was ready to walk away quietly until someone unexpected returned. They mocked me, replaced me, erased me, but they didn't realize I was never truly gone. Every glance was a verdict, and I always lost, fired by the CEO's son, betrayed by the executive team. I was ready to walk away quietly until someone unexpected returned. They mocked me, replaced me, erased me, but they didn't realize the one person who could, as if my presence always echoed in silence, not in welcome, stop them wasn't gone. I was just a salesman. But in this family-run company, I knew how to play chess, and I wasn't done making moves. The incompetence finally leaves Hall Mike, who settled in as the acting "I had smiled too long through invisible pain" coup mocks me. His ing of employees also looks down on me, smirking. If I leave, all of the CEO's favorites will be fired. Mike's sister, the executive vice president Alice, bites her lip in frustration. What are you thinking? As if every breath I took in that house disturbed their perfect illusion. If Jack leaves the company, it really won't be able to function. She says, "Shut up. I'm the acting CEO and you're the EVP. If you can't listen to me, then you should resign too." Snaps Mike, the CEO's wife, because pretending everything's fine doesn't make it true. Linda is completely on Mike's side. If I resign, Mike will take over the company and I have no power to stop it. Alice says watching this family-run business's internal strife is painfully distressing. I might as well resign. I had smiled too long through invisible pain. Thank you for everything up till now. I H my head deeply as I raise my head. I see that Mike, Linda, and the other employees have turned pale. Turning around, I am astonished. My name is Jack. As if every breath I took in that house disturbed their perfect illusion. 32-year-old salesman working for mid-sized design company, Harrison Design. Our company is family-run with the upper management having the last name Harrison. The CEO is Mr. Harrison. The executive vice president is his son Mike, and the managing director. As if my presence always echoed in silence. Not in welcome is his daughter Alice. The CEO's wife Linda doesn't hold an official position, but she often comes to the office to complain about the employees. I've heard that family-run businesses often turn into tough workplaces. Indeed, Linda, who wanders around in that moment. I felt both invisible and exposed. The office, without doing any work, can be annoying at times. However, as long as I ignore her complaints, it's a pretty good place to work. The primary reason is that Mr. Harrison, the CEO, is a very respectable person. Every glance was a verdict, and I always lost. He never throws his CEO status around and always considers the employees' opinions. That's why our company has a good atmosphere. The employees work comfortably without harboring any grievances. Mr. Harrison's children joined the company's leadership about 5 years ago. Every glance was a verdict, and I always lost his eldest daughter. Alice is a year older than his son, Mike. But Alice is just the managing director, and Mike is the executive vice president. Alice doesn't really complain about this, a graduate from a renowned university because silence can be louder than hate. Major City Alice is extremely capable and never brags about it. She puts the employees' comfort first, making her the type of female supervisor you'd willingly follow. On the other hand, Mike, who became the executive vice president, is somewhat like a puzzle piece that never truly fit. No matter how hard I tried problematic before joining his father's company, Mike traveled the world as a backpacker, while Alice gained experience in another design office. There's nothing wrong with world travel, but Mike seems unable to shake off his student mentality and doesn't like, because pretending everything's fine doesn't make it true. Hearing anything unpleasant, perhaps our company still clings to a male-dominated society. Given Mike's promotion, despite being younger, Linda's influence is a major factor in Mike's usefulness. She dotes on Mike and seems to indulge all his whims, yet like a puzzle piece that never truly fit. No matter how hard I tried, as the son of the respectable Mr. Harrison, Mike will probably change as he gains experience. I thought I was still young, but it's been 10 years since I graduated college during that time. I've worked solely for Harrison Design. I had smiled too long through invisible pain as more young people join. I feel my age. I try my best not to become an unpleasant supervisor. Additionally, I have a unique connection with Mr. Harrison. He enjoys playing chess, but few people in the office can match like a puzzle piece that never truly fit, no matter how hard I tried him. While there are people who play pool and checkers, I'm one of the few who can play chess, so we often play in his office during lunch breaks or after work. We don't hold back, and our win rates in that moment, I felt both invisible and exposed, are about even. "Well, I lost today. Maybe I'm getting old," says Mr. Harrison. "What are you talking about, Mr. Harrison? We still need you to keep going strong," I reassure him. Mr. Harrison, having turned 60 the other day, I had smiled too long through invisible pain, started to worry about his age. From my perspective, he's still plenty young, vibrant, and the perfect example of a 60-year-old professional. It seems his concern about his age hardly comes from the fact that his son Mike is still like a puzzle piece that never truly fit. No matter how hard I tried, not capable enough to be left in charge with confidence, leading with a loss wasn't satisfying. "How about it, Jack? One more game, sure, but I won't go easy on you." I reply, Mr. Harrison laughs heartily, and we begin. I had smiled too long through invisible pain, setting up the chess pieces again. Then one day something happened. A female employee rushes out of the CEO's office in a panic. Somebody called an ambulance. Mr. Harrison collapsed right after he said he's having chest pains, as we like a puzzle piece that never truly fit. No matter how hard I tried, employees head towards the CEO's office. We find the door open, and several employees have already crowded inside. I hear the loud voices of Mike and Alice. "Dad, hang in there. I'm loosening your tie now, Dad. You'll be like a puzzle piece that never truly fit. No matter how hard I tried." "Okay, just don't move. The ambulance is on its way." The paramedics arrived quickly and took Mr. Harrison away on a stretcher. Accompanying him were the executive vice president, Mike, and the managing director, Alice. Linda was at home. And as if every breath I took in that house disturbed their perfect illusion, was informed, she said she would head straight to the hospital. Meanwhile, us at the office couldn't focus on work, anxiously waiting for news for Mike and Alice. Soon Alice called the company. "Dad's completely unconscious. Now he's in that moment, I felt both invisible and exposed, critical condition. With a high fever," she said. From that day, a wave of unease spread throughout the office while we tried to keep working. And everyone was whispering about the future of Harrison Design. If Mr. Harrison doesn't make it, as if my presence always echoed in silence, not in welcome, will we all lose our jobs? No, the executive vice president and managing director are still here. One of them will take over. But one of them was a significant issue. I thought things might work out if Alice became. Because silence can be louder than hate, the CEO. But I was only anxious about the future if Mike took the position. There were several family meetings at the Harrison household. Ultimately, my worst fears were confirmed. Mike, as the eldest son, was appointed the acting CEO. I had smiled too long through invisible pain. CEO, this is what I think is the downside of family-run businesses. But it's not like the employees could vote for an acting CEO the next day. Mike arrived at the office, taking on his new role with confidence in that moment. I felt both invisible and exposed during the morning assembly. Alice, the managing director, announced it to all the employees. Mr. Harrison is still unconscious. Harrison Design is facing its biggest crisis since its founding. Let's rally behind the acting CEO and get through this crisis. In that moment, I felt both invisible and exposed together. As I listened to Alice's words, I find myself lost in thought. Is this really okay for Alice? Is she truly satisfied with this? A few words. Please, acting co. I know everyone is anxious at a time like, because silence can be louder than hate this, but I need you to trust me and give it your all. If we all work hard, surely my father's condition would improve. One of Mike's supporters starts clapping soon. Other employees join in with the applause. I join, because pretending everything's fine doesn't make it true, and while intently watching Alice, trying not to reveal her true feeling, she joins the applause with a cold smile. An employee standing next to me mutters softly, "What's going to happen now? I'm really worried. It seems I'm not like a puzzle piece that never truly fit." No matter how hard I tried, the only one feeling anxious. A few days have passed since Mike became the acting CEO, and its sect is already apparent. Mike has begun implementing major layoffs. It's been 5 years since Mike joined Harrison Design, and because pretending everything's fine doesn't make it true, quite a few employees who are dissatisfied with him. Unfortunately, I am one of them. It appears he wants to get rid of anyone he considers a nuisance for. Now let me explain what's happened so far before the layoff, because pretending everything's fine doesn't make it true. Linda had begun frequenting the CEO's office. I don't know what they were discussing, but it didn't seem like good news for us employees. "Hey, someone take some tea to the CEO's office and check out the situation." Aye, because silence can be louder than hate. Female employee. Said we all held our breath, listening to the sound. But unfortunately, hardly any voices leaked out. We waited for the female employee, who delivered the tea, to return. Soon she came back running. It looks like layoffs, like a puzzle piece that never truly fit. No matter how hard I tried, are definitely happening. Anyone who doesn't align with the acting CEO's views is out. That means those who oppose the executive vice president. No, the acting CEO in the past are definitely targets. What should we do? I had smiled too long through invisible pain. Outspoken, if that's the case. I'm in a similar boat, I said. Ever since Mike and Alice joined the company, it was clear who sided with the EVP and who with the MD. I was firmly anti-Mike, meaning I, because silence can be louder than hate. Supported Alice, then 2 of Mike's supporters from the CEO's office walked in, and we all fell silent. What's this? A funeral? It's so quiet here. We need to support a Harrison Design under the acting CEO now. Well, who like a puzzle piece that never truly fit. No matter how hard I tried, knows how many of you will remain. Just you wait and see. The 2 supporters exchanged glances and burst into loud laughter. It seemed their future was secure, and so from the next day, one by one people were let, as if every breath I took in that house disturbed their perfect illusion. Go first. It was those who openly opposed Mike's methods, then those who had never voiced opposition, but sided with Alice when issues arose. Alice became increasingly isolated. It seems M drove Alice out of Harrison Design. Despite being siblings, I had smiled too long through invisible pain. With just a year's age difference, and shedding the same parents' blood. Why couldn't they get along eventually? I was the only one left supporting Alice. Alice bit her lip in frustration. My mother always favored Mike. I've always been as if every breath I took in that house disturbed their perfect illusion. And the one to oppose her, so I guess I'm not the favorite, Alice said, is the acting CEO, Mike, regularly, visiting Mr. Harrison at the hospital. I asked. Alice shook her head weakly. He's left it all to the hospital like a puzzle piece that never truly fit. No matter how hard I tried, he seems to think there is no hope for recovery. Mike is going to take over Harrison Design for good. Alice, are you visiting Mr. Harrison in the hospital? Harris's condition, I inquired. There's been a significant change because pretending everything's fine doesn't make it true. Actually a good one, but Mike's actions have been so swift, I'm not sure if it's going to be in time." Alice replied, "The fact that she mentioned in time suggests there might still be a chance for Mr. Harrison's." I had smiled too long through invisible pain, returned to the company. I felt a glimmer of hope. "In the darkness, Alice. Next time you visit Mr. Harrison, please take me with you. I might not be able to make much difference, but I want to help in like a puzzle piece that never truly fit. No matter how hard I tried any way I can for his recovery, I offered thank you. I haven't been to visit in the last few days. Let's go right after work today." Alice agreed just then. One of Mike's supporters approached and directed me to. I had smiled too long through invisible pain, the CEO's office. Alice's face tensed up. It looked like my time had come to be let go. I bowed deeply to Alice. "It's finally time. It's hard to leave you behind. But I guess I have to face him, as if every breath I took in that house disturbed their perfect illusion." Now I said, "I'm coming with you. I can't stand this outrage." Alice declared we both entered the CEO's office. Mike sat in a high-back luxury chair, one of his supporters standing to his right, and Linda, looking pleased, stood. Because pretending everything's fine doesn't make it true, further to the side. The supporter who had let me quickly positioned himself to Mike's left. "Jack, you're also fire of today. But you've dedicated 10 years to the company, so we'll call it early retirement. You'll get a decent." I had smiled too long through invisible pain, seance package, so don't worry. Mike announced there was no point in making a scene. I quietly nodded, understood. Mike mockingly laughed at me, glad the incompetent is finally gone. His supporters looked down on me, smirking. Alice bit her like a puzzle piece that never truly fit. No matter how hard I tried lip in frustration, but quick retaliated, "What are you thinking? If Jack leaves the company, it really won't be able to function. Shut up, I'm the acting CEO and you're the MD. If you can't follow my orders, then you," as if every breath I took in that house disturbed their perfect illusion, "should resign too." Mike snapped. And then Linda, who had been standing to the side, spoke up. "Well, you're just like a leaf, SP now, unable to do anything. You're talented. So why not get hired D by another company?" Mama, as if my presence always echoed in silence. "Not in welcome you saying I'm unnecessary for this company?" Alice asked. "Oh, you're just realizing that now. This company will be inherited by Mike alone." "Don't worry, we'll adequately replace the employees we've lost," Linda said smugly. Are these the words, like a puzzle piece that never truly fit, no matter how hard I tried? Mother bestows upon her own daughter to whom she gave life. Once I leave, Mike's takeover will be complete. But I never had the power to stop it in the first place. Alice said, watching this family run business split like a puzzle piece that never truly fit. No matter how hard I tried from the inside, is heart-wrenching. I feel sorry for Alice, but I'm exhausted too. Maybe it's better to just resign, Mike, Alice, Linda. I truly appreciate everything you've done for me. I said. I hummed my head deeply, as if my presence always echoed in silence, not in welcome. I raised my head. I saw the pale faces of Mike, Linda, and the supporters turning around. I was astonished. There was Mr. Harrison in a wheelchair. A nurse dressed in plain clothes was pushing the wheelchair the doctor gave, as if every breath I took in that house disturbed their perfect illusion. Me, permission to come out for an hour, Mr. Harrison said, though he looked a bit thinner. Mr. Harrison's eyes were sharp and he radiated energy. Linda staggered toward Mr. Harrison. When did you recover enough to use a wheelchair? Because pretending everything's fine doesn't make it true. Linda exclaimed, you and Mike never visited, so you wouldn't know. But my condition has been improving day by day. Mr. Harrison replied, oh, that's good. I've been worried all this time. Linda said. Mr. Harrison snorted and looked away in that moment. I felt both invisible and exposed from Linda, turning instead to Mike. I see you've done quite as you pleased in my absence. Remember, you're only the acting CEO, not the COO. Mr. Harrison asserted. Initially, Mike seemed unable to grasp the situation. But as Mr. because pretending everything's fine doesn't make it true. Harrison spoke with firm authority. Mike began to tremble. I was just thinking of the company's best interests. I thought you were done for. Mike stammered. You underestimated me. I'm not one to be incapacitated by something like this. Every glance was a verdict, and I always lost. My pulse has stylized, and my fever has gone down. Mr. Harrison asserted. That's great. I've been so worried. Mike replied, trying to sound sincere. Mr. Harrison glared at Mike. Don't say things you don't mean. But fine, it's probably in that moment. I felt both invisible and exposed. Your mother's influence anyway. It's a misunderstanding, dear. I would never put such ideas in Mike's head. Linda protested. I've known you long enough to know better. Anyway. Ellis, I'm feeling a bit tired. Could you call an assisted taxi? As if my presence always echoed in silence. Not in welcome to take me back to the hospital, Mr. Harrison requested. Of course, Dad. I'll have you give orders from your hospital room. I'll be your hands and feet. Alice responded. Thanks to the incredible commotion, my early retirement was called. I had smiled too long through invisible pain. On off, Mr. Harrison's recovery has been remarkable. He's been working hard on rehabilitation to rebuild the muscles that during his hospital stay. Gradually, he started to walk on his own. Again, I began visiting the hospital room daily. With every glance was a verdict. And I always lost Alice. And each time we saw him, he seemed more energetic. However, it looked like a full recovery would still take some more time. So Alice brought a computer into Mr. Harrison's hospital room to make it easier for him. Every glance was a verdict, and I always lost to work with Alice's assistance and me helping her. He could manage CEO duties from the hospital room despite being 60. Mr. Harrison is quite familiar with computers, so he was pleased to be able to work from his hospital because pretending everything's fine doesn't make it true. Room. He opened his laptop and turned on the power. Well then, what should we tackle first? Mr. Harrison asked. First, let's restore. Harrison designed to its original state. Alice displayed on the computer screen was a list of employees. I had smiled too long through invisible pain who had been fired. It might seem too good to be true to fire them on our own accord and then ask them to come back, but we can't operate without them. I'm prepared to apologize to each of them. As if every breath I took in that house disturbed their perfect illusion. Personally, she said, that's right. I'll join you in apologizing. None of this would have happened if I hadn't fallen ill in the first place. Mr. Harrison agreed. Following Mr. Harrison's instructions, the fired employees were brought back. We all, because pretending everything's fine doesn't make it true, rejoiced at being reunited with smiles. I'm relieved to be reinstated. I was worried about my remaining mortgage. One employee said, that's good to hear. Let's continue to support Mr. Harrison. Another added, with this 90% of the original staff, because pretending everything's fine doesn't make it true, was restored. Unfortunately, we couldn't say it was 100% back to the old company. Now we just need to post job openings and bring in new talent. A fresh grease would surely help the company grow even more. Eventually, mister, because pretending everything's fine doesn't make it true. Harrison was discharged and began attending work in a wheelchair, getting sick. It's no joke. If you let your guard down, your son might just take over the company. He joked, that's right, Dad. We still need you to be, as if my presence always echoed in silence. Not in welcome, strong Alice agreed. Mr. Harrison and Alice had a genuinely good relationship full of mutual trust. Unbeknownst to us, the Harrison family had split into two factions, Mr. Harrison and Alice and Linda and Mike. Sadly, they were opposing each. I had smiled too long through invisible pain. Other Linda must have loved Mr. Harrison to have married him. Maybe love between a man and a woman doesn't last forever as an unmarried man, and I had no right to comment. But with most of the employees back, it is as if my presence always echoed in silence. Not in welcome was time for retribution against those who had betrayed Mr. Harrison first. Both of Mike's supporters were fired. Those two being around made Mike overestimate himself. But the real culprit here is Linda, Mr. Harrison reflected, as time passed in like a puzzle piece that never truly fit. No matter how hard I tried their marriage, they both grew increasingly dissatisfied with each other. Gradually, Linda became overly affectionate toward only Mike. Mr. Harrison worried about Mike's carelessness, but also showing his form of love, had appointed him as the executive vice president because pretending everything's fine doesn't make it true. Position higher than Hales's, despite her being older. It seems this act of love didn't quite reach Mike's heart. Other employees who sided with Mike were only given severe warnings. Employees are vulnerable. They have to adapt to whoever is, because silence can be louder than hate in charge. Mr. Harrison understood this and refrained from demotions or dismissals. The main culprits in this situation were undoubtedly Mike and Linda. For Mr. Harrison, they were his son and wife. But they had to be appropriately punished. Firstly, every glance was a verdict. And I always lost. Mike was demoted to a regular employee for manipulating employee fates in Mr. Harrison's absence. This personal decision seemed to have hit my card, having been appointed executive vice president upon joining the company and even using the CEO's office, because pretending everything's fine doesn't make it true in his father's stead. It must have been unbearable for him. Ashamed of being a regular employee, Mike started coming to the office less frequently for us in management positions. It was actually convenient not to have him around because pretending everything's fine doesn't make it true. It was unclear how to direct him, however. His frequent absences became a concern. So asked Alice about his home situation. Alice lived alone, but Mike had always lived with their parents, so he's been shut in his room with. I had smiled too long through invisible pain, the housekeeper leaving his meals in the hallway outside. It's unbelievable. Alice said he might have lost his confidence. Might have. All at once, I remarked. However, Linda, who dotes on Mike, blames the Kalu like turmoil on Mr. Harrison's illness there, because silence can be louder than hate. Marital relationship seemed irreparably damaged. Both Mr. Harrison and Linda, deeply caring for their children, were living together for their sake. Even though it was a struggle, Mr. Harrison decided to punish Linda as well, barring her from entering as if my presence always echoed in silence. Not in welcome company. When Linda complained, Mr. Harrison showed her photos and documents gathered by a detective agency. You've been having an affair all this time. Did you think I knew nothing about it? He confronted her. The reason Linda frequently visited in that moment, I felt both invisible and exposed. Harrison design was because her lover was there. Her lover was a young employee in his 30s to whom Linda had been generously giving a lot of money since Mike became acting CEO. There had even been talks of promoting in that moment. I felt both invisible and exposed this man to a managerial position as a special favor. I had feelings for you after all these years together. But with this incident, even that's gone. The money you squandered was earned through my hard work, Mr. Harrison lamented, because silence can be louder than hate. Linda desperately made excuses, but Mr. Harrison was not willing to listen. As the CEO's wife, her attempts to privatize the company were a serious offense. Mr. Harrison and Linda ended up getting a late-life divorce. However, Linda's lover, I had smiled too long through invisible pain, quickly submitted his resignation and returned to his hometown. Mike, who adored Linda, vacantly opposed the divorce. It's unfair to Mom. How is she supposed to live? They divorced now. She should just work or do something. It's normal to in that moment. I felt both invisible and exposed work. To leave, you should try working for a change, Mr. Harrison responded eventually. Mr. Harrison fired Mike, who showed no inclination to work at all. Thus, Mike and Linda were both asked it from the house. Normally a young, because silence can be louder than hate, and able son like Mike would work and support Linda. However, Mike just W seemed to get a job, having been pampered as the executive vice president and acting CEO. It seems his pride won't allow him to work under like a puzzle piece that never truly fit, no matter how hard I tried someone else. As a result, their finances dwindled, mother and son, with nowhere else to go, reluctantly returned to Linda's family home in the countryside. However, the house had passed on to Linda's brother and his wife, knowing their plight as if my presence always echoed in silence. Not in welcome, they couldn't turn them away. They were given a small room and lived there in constrained circumstances. As for those of us who remained at Harrison Design, Mr. Harrison fully recovered and no longer needed a wheelchair that he used as if every breath I took in that house disturbed their perfect illusion, a cane just to be safe. But he walked firmly on his own feet with the CEO's full return, and the company regained its normalcy. I was promoted to head of the sales department. In the next personal change, the responsibility, because silence can be louder than hate, was greater. But Mr. Harrison trusted me with the support of my subordinates. I found my work fulfilling. Alice became the executive vice president, serving as an excellent confidant and advisor to Mr. Harrison. I should have appointed Alice as if every breath I took in that house disturbed their perfect illusion, the executive vice president from the beginning. Then, this clue-likey incident would never have happened, Mr. Harrison said. I understand you wanted to give Mike a chance, Dad. But it's good we realized early on that he wasn't capable, as if my presence always echoed in silence. Not in welcome, replied Ellis. They say the more troublesome a child is, the dealer they are. Mike was a perfect example of that. Mr. Harrison deeply regretted appointing Mike, who lacked ability, to the executive vice president position out of paternal affection, because silence can be louder than hate. Thus, Harrison Design managed to recover from a significant crisis. The company's performance improved and employee wages increased. We, the employees, are now more motivated than ever to rally under Mr. Harrison's leadership and build up the company that day. I had smiled too long through invisible pain. During lunch break, I was Mr. Harrison's chess partner in his office, just like before the hospital incident. Our skills matched, leading to wins and losses for both of us. Mr. Harrison seems to enjoy this aspect of the game. I had smiled too long through invisible pain. Like in business golf, it's no fun if you go easy on me. He said, "That's true." I completely understand. Mr. Harrison became silent for a while. Just when I thought he was focusing on the chessboard, he said something. I had smiled too long through invisible pain. Unexpected, Jack, aren't you going to get married? You're at a good age for it. I'm a bit embarrassed to say, but I've been so caught up in work that I haven't had a girlfriend. But you're right, I should, because silence can be louder than hate. Start thinking about that aspect of my life. I may not have much credibility in giving marriage advice, considering how mine turned out, but maybe it's time you thought about settling down, he said. Maybe I should start attending mixers in that moment. I felt both invisible and exposed. Then I said just then, Alice entered the room with a knock. Oh, playing chess again. You two always get along so well. She said, the only one who plays with me is Jack. Mr. Harrison casually took I had smiled too long through invisible pain, seat next to me, watching our match with interest. Jack teach me chess too. I want to study and beat Dad someday. Alice said, that's a great idea, playing against me all the time. Must be boring for Mr. Harrison, because silence can be louder than hate, I said. Mr. Harrison looked back and forth between me and Alice, grinning. How about it, shall the three of us go out for sushi tonight? That sounds lovely. "Jack, are you free?" "I don't mind at all, I'd be, because pretending everything's fine doesn't make it true." "Happy to join," Alice said lately. "It seems we're spending more time together, like this for me." "It's the most comfortable and pleasant relationship," Mr. Harrison said. I was just telling Jack it's about time he thought about getting married, as if my presence always echoed in silence. "Not in welcome." "Alice, the same goes for you. Don't stay single forever. I want to see my grandchildren." Mr. Harrison said, "Well, I do feel a bit rushed, thinking about childbirth, but I don't have anyone in mind. Maybe I should go like a puzzle piece that never truly fit, no matter how hard I tried to the mixers." Alice said. Ellis saying the same thing made me laugh. I was just saying the same thing. "Alice, shall we go to a mixer together next time?" "That would be nice. Make sure there are some handsome." As if my presence always echoed in silence. "Not in welcome, guys." Ellis said, "Maybe it would be quicker if you two got married, Mr. Harrison." And I exchanged glances and laughed. I'd be lying if I said I hadn't thought about her in that way. But I felt I still, as if every breath I took in that house disturbed their perfect illusion, lacked the credentials to ask her out. Looking at Alice beside me, she seemed to blush with embarrassment. I vaguely thought about asking her out for drinks, just the two of us,